So Nisha, have a guess what we're talking about today.
Some kind of band?
This is not the greatest video in the world. This is just a tribute. I'll put the guitar up.
Very nice.
The majority of people watching this video will be mostly familiar with Jack Black through his movie roles, such as the Jumanji reboots. We've had The Holiday, King Kong, School of Rock, and coming up very soon, as time of recording this, I think the end of the week, the Super Mario movie.
Ooh.
The cooler people out there, though, will know Jack Black mainly through his music as part of the comedy duo Tenacious D. Can you tell I'm a fan?
Oh yeah, I didn't know what it said before. Yeah.
If you've seen Jack Black perform, you will no doubt think that, he was destined to be a musician and that from a super young age, like baby Jack playing guitar. But it turns out that's not actually true.
So what is true?
Nothing! Nothing is true. Fact Fiend is a lie. Everything we've said is not true.
Jesus.
Every little fact is fake. There isn't even a Jack Black. I think his name is Thomas Jacob Black, actually. But
You're actually Jack Black.
Yes. I used to get called Jack Black. I think my niece used to, like, whenever Jack Black was on screen, she'd be like, oh, it's Uncle Brad. I don't think that I particularly resemble Jack Black. Apart from, like, when people used to say it, I had, like, long, scraggly hair, a beard, and was a bit overweight. So people would be like, oh, it's Jack Black there. Who do I look like? Comments. Who do I look like?
You were compared to someone in Game of Thrones.
Oh, Samuel Tarly. Don't bring that one up.
Sorry. Because
it's the actor John Bradley. There was a period of my life when...
John Bradley,
He's called John Bradley. I'm called Bradley John. Right, okay, great. There was a period of my life where I did look very close to him, and the worst part was that somebody gave me a picture, as if to say, like, oh, you look how much you look like him. And I was like, why are you sending me a picture of me? And it was actually him. Like, it was the angle and the length of his hair and beard and the lighting and everything. It just matched the way that I looked at the time. So it took me a couple of glances to be like, shit, that's not me. And once I'd seen that, I was like, I've got to accept it. I can't argue with people when I've literally made the mistake myself. So of course, we're talking about Jack Black's music career here, and we can't really talk about the origins of Tenacious D without covering the fact that the band itself has a fictional origin. So I imagine you're not too familiar with the background of Tenacious D, either in real life or in their stories.
No.
So there's a few different iterations of their fictional story that get told through The Pick of Destiny, which is their feature film, get told through the HBO series, which is the series that not a lot of people remember or watched, but Tenacious D had a TV series years ago.
No idea about
Never
that.
seen that.
No, I didn't know it existed.
Yeah. So Tenacious D had a TV series, and also the story is told a little bit through the first album they released. So the version of the story that's told in The Pick of Destiny is that Jack Black, or JB as he's known through the film, was a repressed child who was abused by his highly Christian family who hated rock and roll and would beat him for singing rock songs. So he escaped and fled to Hollywood, where he bumped into a street performer who was KG, or Kyle Gass. Mm-hmm. And Kyle basically pretended he was this big shot. Jack finds out that Kyle is just this basically loser musician. But then the two of them eventually are like, we're going to form the greatest rock band, Tenacious D. And the gimmick of Tenacious D, if people aren't aware, is that they think they're the greatest band in the world. And all of the stuff that surrounds them is them thinking that everything they're doing is amazing. And as a Tenacious D fan, I have to agree. Yeah, so the film has them going off and finding the legendary Pick of Destiny, which is a pick carved out of the tooth of Satan. But then the HBO series is it could theoretically happen after the film, because a lot of the elements are similar, that they're two guys writing songs, doing open mic nights. But there's a lot of characters who are like for example, the spoilers for Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny, but the guy who runs the open mic nights turns out to be the devil. He's in the series because they got all the old actors from the series back for the film. Mm-hmm. They got Lee back, who's the super fan is Lee. They got the guy who played Sasquatch back. I think the police officer came back. They got Florina back. This is going to make no sense to some people, but they got Florina back to play the woman with the tarot cards at the start. In the series, they're like these loser rockers who are trying to make a mark. But then in the album, it's not Kyle who teaches Jack how to be a rocker. It's Jack that teaches Kyle how to do things like the inward singing. Do you know of inward singing?
Inward singing.
Inward singing. So you sing, and then you sing inwards, and then you sing, and it's how you sing constantly. I'm always fucking singing, and I can't do it properly, but Jack can do it very well.
And then I start some lyrics and you can't believe I'm singing and I'm never fucking stopping and I'm always fucking singing it.
And he also teaches him how to do the legendary cock push-ups. Do you know of cock push-ups?
I can imagine what they are.
Cock push-ups is where you train yourself to do a press-up on the cock. And I,
Shocking.
as a Tenacious D fan, years ago, I did attempt a cock push-up. I failed miserably. I'm not sure if it is possible, but maybe someone out there can do the cock push-up. The real story of the origins of Tenacious D is much less like ridiculous destiny and more just the good fortune of circumstance. So initially, I don't think Jack Black was planning on being a musician. He was focusing more on his acting, because as he was coming up, he did like a commercial. He was in an old commercial when he was 13. And he appeared in various like small roles on television, and he also had an unaired pilot with Ben Stiller. And I didn't read too much into this, but I think it was basically a rip-off of Knight Rider, where Owen Wilson was a talking motorbike and Jack Black rode him.
Oh no.
But while we're talking about the early career of Jack Black, he used to be cast. This is really unusual, because Jack Black, as we know him now, he always plays the goofy comedy guy. And he's known for being a bit overweight and being sort of this lumpish oaf. In his earlier roles, he always played like meaty beef, what's the word I'm looking for? Beefcakes.
Beefcake.
Yeah, he played muscular like soldiers. And people may not remember him having been in films like back in the day because he always had very small roles. But he was in Waterworld. He plays the pilot who flies the plane. He's also in Demolition Man, which is the film where Stallone is going up against Wesley Snipes, and he plays one of the soldiers in the underground like resistance of people. But the one that people may remember him from more is that he's in Mars Attacks, and he plays the young soldier who has like a big role at the start because he's like, wants to fight for president and country, and then gets immediately just melted by the aliens in the first encounter.
Oh my god.
So it's just a bit strange to think that like we all know him from his earlier roles. Like you mentioned, he's the goofball musician in the Holiday, or he's the goofball musician in School of Rock.
It's also, he plays that in Jumanji. He's being like played by a female character, like because they obviously it's their game characters, isn't it? He's like meant to be like a female. Yeah,
he plays the cartographer in the actual Jumanji game. He's the avatar for the cartographer.
But he has to act in a way that is more feminine. I quite like Jumanji because I like Kevin Hart, I like Jack Black, I like The Rock, and I forget her name, but I know she played. Why am I forgetting names?
I've forgotten her name. The blue person in. What's she called?
She's Gamora's sister.
Yeah, why is that completely gone? People are screaming at us.
V is a V.
The V?
No,
that's it.
Does it begin with a V?
We're not going to carry on until we get it.
Yeah.
I've had this happen all the time. Like, a piece of knowledge that is in your head. Nebula. Where's the V come from?
I don't know.
And people are obviously going to be screaming at us as well. She was in Doctor Who. She was the...
I never
she was Eleven's first companion, Amy Pond. At this early point in Jack's career, when he's only been in a few smaller roles, he joins this acting troupe that are called the Actors Gang. But who else is a member of this Actors Gang? None other than Kyle Gass. If people are unaware of who Kyle Gass is, he is the other half of Tenacious D. He is an incredibly good musician. I believe he grew up playing the flute, and then I imagine he plays a lot more instruments, but I only know of the flute and the guitar. But he's an incredibly skilled guitarist. There was this thing going around that he said that he was the youngest graduate of Juilliard ever at 13. And in every single interview he got asked about this, and he was like, yep, youngest graduate ever. And like even Jack said it. Like years later, somebody said, so is it true? And he went, nah. I thought it'd be funny. But I noticed this a lot with Tenacious D. It's very hard to figure out what's actually true about them because they're always sarcastic and joking. Like in preparation for this video, because I wanted to do a video on Tenacious D. Like it was to hit two birds with one stone. It was, I wanted to talk about Tenacious D and Jack Black is currently quite popular because the Mario movie is coming out, and no one's going to talk about Chris Pratt in it, are they? I'm gonna hold judgment. Maybe he'll do a good job, but for now, Jack Black's the one everyone wants to talk about. In preparation for this, I was watching Pick of Destiny with the commentaries on, because I was like, maybe there's a cool little tidbit from behind the scenes, and I did find some interesting stuff out. Like, they claim to have written 1,000 songs for the preparation for that film, but then they only used 6.
What the fuck?
But then
True.
But then it gets me thinking, are they telling the truth?
No, 1,000 songs.
But they do this all the time. Like
No.
the entire commentary is just them making jokes and cracking and I'm watching it like, is it true? Jack Black, if you're watching this, let me know. Did you write 1,000 songs for Pick of Destiny, or was that just because Tenacious D often writes like small bits of songs. They don't write the whole thing. They write like 30 seconds to a minute. So I can believe that they wrote 1,000 of those things in preparation for the film, because the film was in the making for years. Like, they've wanted to make it for a long time. In one of like the earliest gigs of Tenacious D, they were saying like, a film is the peak. If we can make a film, then we've made it. And like the early ideas for the film involved them going to Atlantis. There was this really weird like concept in the background where like I think Dio sent them to Atlantis, and there was some love interest they were fighting over, and there were ninjas. But the film has been planned for a long time, so if the original drafts of the film, like they start writing songs for that, they could theoretically have hit the 1,000 mark, which is why I want to know. When Jack and Kyle first met each other, they say they didn't like each other very much, because Kyle at the time was the main musician for the Actors Gang, and he didn't like that Jack was coming in and cramping his style and like potentially stealing the spotlight. But there was a big difference between the two at the time, which was that Jack couldn't play any instruments. As far as I'm aware, he couldn't play any instruments. Maybe he could play something else, but he definitely couldn't play guitar, which is obviously what he's most known for now. The two of them initially didn't get on, but they had this like trip to Edinburgh where they ended up bonding. But they found out that they both had obviously this big interest in music. And Jack really wanted to play guitar, and Kyle could play guitar. So they made a deal. And the deal was, Kyle would teach Jack guitar if Jack paid him in food.
Oh,
So Jack would go over to Kyle's apartment and he would teach him, and then the two of them would go and get food together. And they went to a place that I think was called Jack in the Box. And it's a place that sells various takeaway items. The two of them did an episode of Actually Me for GQ, which is where celebrities and famous people make accounts and go and answer questions on the internet as themselves. It's Actually Me. And they did one of these where they went on their Wikipedia page and they corrected this segment by saying, oh, the main thing we used to buy was 2 for $1 tacos.
Our go-to was the 2 tacos for $1.
Yeah, I mean, we were
$1 for 2 delicious tacos.
We were on a budget then.
I find it really funny that Jack was being taught how to play guitar from who is, I consider to be like an incredibly talented guitarist. Like even back then, you can see through the way that Kyle plays guitar that he's very good at it. And he was being paid. He was paying him because I assume if they were getting 2 tacos, it was 1 each. So he was paying 50 cent taco for a guitar lesson.
Pretty good deal, to be fair.
Yeah. So that was how Jack Black learned to play guitar. He learned from Kyle, which I think I was saying about it, it not being destiny. When the way that the film portrays it is like, oh, it was destined to be with their ass tattoos and shit. But I think that this in itself is quite a nice story. Like they just happened to meet and they both shared the interests, and one had to teach the other, and they bonded, and they started writing music a few years later. Out of interest, do you know where the name Tenacious D comes from?
Not the arse cheeks then.
No, it doesn't come from the arse cheeks, although that would have been very funny. Now, apparently it comes from a basketball term, which means like tenacious defense. And it's if the defending team is doing a very good job of defending, then. But then nowadays, the D, because that's what they call them, the D.
The D.
It's like the D.
Like there's some weird band names out there or interesting ones. How do they come up with them?
Well, a lot of them just come from random situations where they're like, that sounds like a good name.
Yeah, just two words put together, sort of thing. Well, that sounds like a band name.
I think Blink 182, they wanted to be called Blink, and there was another band called Blink, so they added 182. And then McFly.
They were fans of Back to the Future. I know that story. Busted though.
I have no idea. I know that Son of Dork, who was the spin-off band that the James Bourne from
the
Busted,
James Bourne.
The James Bourne. The spin-off band that he made after Busted, Son of Dork, there's a film, I think it's a baseball again actually. There's people in the crowd chanting Son of Dork.
Oh.
Son of Dork! Son of Dork! Son of Dork! Son of Dork!
On the subject of band names, I actually wrote down some of the early names that Tenacious D had before they chose Tenacious D. And what they did was they were at a show and they got the audience to vote on which name they wanted the band to have. And some of the options were Pets or Meat, Balboa's Biblical Theatre, The Axe Lords featuring Gorgazon's Mischief, and obviously Tenacious D was an option as well.
Yeah, I think that one
Tenacious D didn't.
Catchier.
I don't think it won the votes, but they persuaded them to put it through.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because they wanted that one instead.
The other one's not good.
But no, yeah, so Jack Black learned how to play guitar from Kyle Gass by paying him in $1 tacos. And it's a good job they did, because if he hadn't learned, then they may not have been able to play the greatest song in the world, and they might not have been able to defeat the demon, and he would have eaten their souls. Did you know there's an alternate version of Tribute? I mean, there's a few different versions, but the HBO series I've been talking about, one episode is called The Greatest Song in the World. And the concept behind it is that they're trying to get inspiration and write a song, and they're making loads of noise, and the neighbour calls the police. And the policeman comes around and he says, what the hell's going on here? So they say, look, here's the story.
What's going on?
They play through Tribute, but the bit where once in 100,000 years, they don't do that bit. They start playing Stairway to Heaven.
And it saved our butts.
And then it cuts to this really random bit where they're in a wrestling ring fighting against the devil. And Jack Black's getting defeated because the devil's obviously got devil powers. So he drinks some rocket sauce and then starts breathing fire, which I think is evidence that Jack Black was always going to play Bowser because he's breathing fire even in the early days. Mm-hmm. As I've said multiple times, I'm a big Tenacious D fan. And this video is literally an excuse just for me to talk about the D. So you're laughing at the D.
Talk about the D.
If anybody has any other cool Tenacious D facts or behind the scenes stuff, fill the comment section with that. Like, I like the idea that these videos can be an opportunity for people to share other facts they know, and you can scroll through the comments and learn more stuff. And obviously, as a big Tenacious D fan, I'd love to learn more about the band, things that I may not know. So yeah, get that comment section filled, and we'll have a little browse through. And it also drowns out the shit comments of people being like, "Hey, you're just acting like Carl."
Who's this? It's been a while since I've viewed Fact Fiend. Who's this guy?
Yeah, I watched Fact Fiend for a while. Who's this new person? I've been in fucking loads of videos. Do you not recognise the voice? I was the only one to be on the camera for like 2 years, and people, I don't know who this guy is.
Well, they're clearly like not long-term fans.
No,
so.
The real fans know. You know,
the OGs know.
They said no, Eugene.
I said the OGs.
The real fans know Eugene.
The original
it's like
gangsters.
Even you don't know my name. It's the people like you. Oh, you're exactly like Carl. You've got Carl's mannerisms down. It's like we know each other, and I've been editing for years. Of course, when I'm presenting the same format of video, I'm going to act a bit like him, unintentionally. I'm not even acting. This is just. Do you think I act differently?
I don't see it.
What? Yeah. What I mean,
I don't know. I am looking at you, not like I can't see you, but it's like I don't see it myself. Fucking John Cena.
Well, I've talked about one of my favourite bands. What is one of your favourite bands?
It could be a raw day.
I think talk about a band that was like big for you when you were young, because Tenacious D for me was the first band I got super attached to, apart from like Busted as well.
There's a few bands I won't mention.
I know those bands.
Yeah.
For me, it's like Tenacious D was just this big part of my childhood, and I had like I don't know if I didn't bring it through, but yeah, like Tenacious D was a big part of my childhood, and I had the first album, I Pick a Destiny album, and currently in the flat I've got Rise of the Phoenix, which has it's a really funny sticker over this. If you want to see the uncensored one, you can Google what it actually is. And then also I've got the Pick a Destiny DVD here.
The band that was big for me, and probably still is a little bit, because they're still going, is Fall Out Boy.
Oh, Fall Out Boy.
Just Infinity on High.
Is that one of the new ones?
No, that's one of the ones that were popular like 2007.
Oh, well, clearly I'm not that, like, Fall Out Boy for me was more of a teenage kind of...
I know it was Under the Cork
I was a teenager then.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
What's it called? I Write Sins, Not Tragedies.
That's Panic at the Disco.
Yes, it is.
Oh my God.
Which one am I thinking of?
Are you thinking of My Songs Know What You Did?
That's the one. No, wait.
This Ain't a Scene?
That one. That's the one I'm thinking of.
The one that's
the same era.
It's the long name.
Oh, great Fall Out Boy. Getting the song wrong immediately. Yeah, no, that's the one I'm thinking of.
This Ain't a Scene? Yeah, because it's...
I even sang that line in my head before I got the name wrong.
You're a big fan of All Time Low.
Oh yes, I love All Time Low. All Time Low are one of those bands where like almost all the songs are ones that I consider to be good. And it's very rare that you get a band where you just like every song.
Yeah.
Like some of their albums, I can just listen to them and not a single one of them I'll find bad. It's like the same thing with Early Busted. Like there were only 1 or 2 Early Busted songs I didn't like, and the rest I really enjoyed. And that's one of the reasons why those kind of bands always stick with me more than some other ones. Because say for a band like 30 Seconds to Mars, I enjoy some of their songs a lot, but they're not the others at all.
Yeah.
And like the same thing happens with some Linkin Park songs. The ones that are a little bit more aggressive and more rap focused, I tend to not like as much as the ones that are more like have more melodious, I think is a word.
Melodious?
I think that's a word. Some bands I really like, I found their songs because I accidentally find one song. Like there's a Christian rock band called Cutlass, which I think I've probably shown you some of before.
Somewhere in the sky.
Yeah. And I found one of their songs by accident because I was looking for a song, Words to Me by Sugar Ray, which is the one that's in the Scooby-Doo movie. She sings these words to me, that one. I was looking for that song and I found a song called All of the Words by Cutlass. And I like that song so much I sought out some of their other music. I'm not particularly religious. Like the fact that the Christian imagery and stuff is not really for me, but I like some of the melodies in the songs. Like To Know That You're Alive is a banger. Like Somewhere in the Sky you've mentioned is a banger. And like even some of the more like Christian ones, I guess, the ones that have a bit more of the imagery, like Sea of Faces, or the song itself is still very good. Apparently the Killers are a Christian rock band.
I like the Killers as well.
Yeah.
But then with them, that's the thing, right? Because they're a band I want to see, but I'm not willing to pay.
Just Google it.
Shut up.
See live, I don't know.
To pay a lot because I only like, I think 4 of their songs. Like, I
honestly thought you were going to say, I only like 4 of the band members.
No, but like, it's like the same with what you said earlier. I like 4 of their songs a lot, but the rest of the stuff is like, nah. Because I like Somebody Told Me, Mr. Brightside, obviously, When You Were Young, and I feel like there's another one I'm missing. Maybe it's just 3, which is even worse.
Did you say I Predict a Riot?
That's Kaiser Chiefs.
Oh yeah, my God, my musical knowledge. Like, Nisha's the resident music expert for the channel. And like whenever we do pub quizzes and stuff, we always take Nisha on because like the majority of the times if they play like pop culture songs and stuff, Nisha's very good at those. I think the most impressive one that I thought that you did was that there was a remix of the Avengers theme. They didn't even play the main bit and she got it. And I was like, that's not the Avengers theme. And she went, yes it is, Brad. And we got a point for it.
And then the one I think, because one of our friends, I always remember it was the first song on that category. And we're like, oh, it's How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
And one of the friends at the table was like, oh yeah, the first one. I was like, I think it's the second one. And he was just like, oh no, it's the first one. And it was bugging me the entire round. And I was like, just before he like gave the answers in, I was like, change it to number 2. And it was number 2. And I was just like, fuck yeah.
Like my issue is that I don't really remember the names of songs or who they're by, but I know most of the lyrics. So.
Yeah, because we're on about doing more quizzes. Get me doing a music quiz.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we probably could do one where we only played the first like 4 seconds of a song or a 4-second segment because then we wouldn't get hit by the copyright strike and we could still do that. So maybe we'll do that either as a Fact Fiend challenge video because we still have that genre like knocking about, or we can do it as a side channel video. I guess if you're not sub to the side channel, subscribe now and keep your eyes open and we'll do that. Maybe we'll record that next week because that sounds like a fun one to do. But no, hope people enjoyed hearing a little bit about Jack Black. And I assume he's not going to watch, but Jack Black, if you do watch this, I'm a big fan, like genuinely massive fan, especially for a kid. When I was growing up, before I hit my teenage years, I was like a chunky kid, and having like this representation of somebody who was a bit larger, but was also like incredibly, talented and funny and sexy. Like it's good for people to have like that kind of. It's why representation is so important. A little bit of insight into it. But I think every single time I do one of these, I think I give away a little bit of my soul. Like people, because I could have done a video about Mario. I could have found some stuff out about Mario and tried to follow the trend. But I was like, no. The part about the Mario movie that I like is that an actor I really love is in it. So I'm going to look into that actor. And I just, even though it might be a common fact, people might already know it, I thought it was fascinating that Kyle taught Jack how to play guitar. And their deal was food. I was like, oh, I get it. So Jack's going to bring food around every time they do it, takeaways and stuff. No, a taco.
50 cents.
Or sometimes they said they would fork out for a slightly more expensive taco. I just thought it was really funny. Yeah, so like and subscribe and all that jazz. I've been Brad. That's been Nisha. Brad, not Carl. Also not Lucas. I got that comment on the last video. Somebody was like, it's the first time I've watched a video without Carl. It took me a while to realise it wasn't him. And then I realised it, when I looked at it, he was shorter and fatter. I realised, oh, it's Lucas. There's a comment like that, where not only did they insult my appearance, but then they were like, oh, it's Lucas. I recognise his voice from other videos. Lucas and I sound nothing alike. Nothing alike.
Wait for that comment.
Brad!
Wait for that comment.
Everyone's going to say it. Every single time I do this, I know that I'm going to get one person going, wow, Lucas was really angry at the end of this video. Brad!
That one comment saying, oh, finally, Nisha face reveal.
This is what happens with the video when we run the recordings on too long. It's really hot in here. And I'm
nearly filmed an hour. This is nearly an hour long.
It's so hot in here now because half of my fucking room is glass. And I'm melting. And I'm losing it. Stop the recording. Quick, press...